Hello guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Yusuf Shakeel and you are watching jQuery tutorial series. In this video, we are going to learn how to handle events using jQuery. And guys, all the code that we are going to write in this video, I'll put them in my GitHub repository. You will find all the links in the YouTube video description, so feel free to check that out. And guys, if you haven't already, then please subscribe my channel by clicking that subscribe button, and please click that bell icon so that you will be notified whenever I upload a new video. Alright guys, let's get started. Alright, I've opened the project folder in Sublime Text, and inside the project folder, I have created a new file, events-handling.html, which is this one, and I have written the following HTML code. And inside the JS folder, I have created a new file, event-handling.js, which is this one. And I have included this JS file inside the HTML file by writing this script tag. And I have also included jQuery, which is also inside the JS folder. Now let us go ahead and open this file in Chrome. So we'll save this file and we'll open our project folder, and then we'll open this event-handling.html file in Chrome. And we'll also open the DevTools, so we'll go to View, Developer, and we'll select the DevTools. And we'll switch to the Console tab. And since this is empty, that means we don't have any error. Alright, let's begin our journey by discussing about the ready event. So when we open a page, our browser starts to download that page from a server or from a local host. And it starts to construct the DOM tree. So when the page loads and the DOM gets completed, it triggers an event signaling that it is ready. And we can listen to that ready event using jQuery ready method. So in order to check whether the document is ready, we write $ round brackets and we pass document. Then we call the ready method and we pass a function and some code. So by writing this, jQuery will check whether the DOM is ready. And when the ready event is fired, the ready method will capture that event. So the ready method will be listening to that event. And when that event is triggered, the code inside this function will get executed. Now, since this is very common, so jQuery provides a shorthand notation for this. So another way of writing this is by writing the $, round brackets, function, and then inside the function, we have our code. So when the document gets ready, the ready event will be fired, and this code will listen to that ready event. And when that event occurs, this will capture that event, and then the code inside this function will get executed. Now let's talk about the click event, which is one of the most frequently occurring event in a web page. And we handle the click event using the click method. So our next topic is the click method. Let us go back to our HTML file, and inside the body, let us create a button having ID sample-button1. And let us give this button a text, click me. So now if we save this file, go back to Chrome and reload, we get a button having text, click me. So when we click this button, a click event is fired. And since we don't have any code at this moment to handle that click event, we don't get any output. So let us go ahead and write our code to handle the click event. So in our JS file, we'll be first targeting this button having ID sample-button1. So we'll switch to our JS file and we'll first target that button using ID. So we'll write $ round bracket, within double quotes we'll write hash, since we are targeting it by ID, and then the ID, which is sample-button1. Then we'll call the click method and we'll have a function. And inside this function, whatever code that we write will be executed when the button is clicked. So let us go ahead and console.log button clicked. So by writing this code, we are first targeting that button using ID. Then we are attaching the click event listener. So this click method going to handle that click event. Then we have a function, and the code inside that function will get executed only when that button is clicked. So if we save this file, go back to Chrome and reload, and now if we click this button, in the console tab, we'll see button clicked. So if we click this, we get button clicked. If we click again, we get the same output. So when we are clicking the button having ID sample-button1, a click event is fired. And we are handling that click event using the click method. So this click method is listening to that click event. And when the click event occurs, this method is capturing that event, and then the code inside this function is getting executed. Another way of handling the click event is by using the on method. And when we are using the on method, we pass the click value. So it tells the method that we are going to handle the click event. And then we have a function, and the code inside that function gets executed only when the targeted element gets clicked. So if we comment this code, save our file, go back to Chrome and reload, and let us clear the console. Now if we click, we don't get any output. So let us again handle the click event, and this time we are going to use the on method. So we are using the on method to handle the click event. So like before, we'll first target the button using the ID sample-button1. Then we'll call the on method, and we want to handle the click event. So we'll pass the click. Then we'll have a function, and the code inside that function will get executed when the button gets clicked. So let us again console.log button clicked. So by writing this, we are first targeting the button, and then we are calling the on method, and then we are handling the click event. So when the button gets clicked, the click event is fired, and we handle that click event, and the code inside this function gets executed when that button gets clicked. So now if we save this file, go back to Chrome and reload, and let us clear the console. And now if we click this button, we again get the same output, button clicked. Another most commonly occurring event in a web page is the double click event. So let us go back to our HTML file, and let us create a new button, and let us give this an ID sample-button2, and let us change the text to double click me. So if we save this file, go back to Chrome and reload, we get the second button, and it has a text double click me. And since we don't have any event handling code right now for this button, so we don't get any output when we click this button. So let us go back to our JS file, and let us write an event handling for the double click event. So on method to handle the double click event. So first we are going to target that button using ID. So we'll write $ round brackets and within double quotes sample-button2. Then we'll call the on method, and since we are going to handle the double click, so we'll pass dbl click. Then we have a function, and the code inside this function gets executed only when the button having ID sample-button2 gets double clicked. And let's say this time we want to show an alert box, button double clicked. So by writing this code, we are first targeting the button having ID sample-button2. Then we are calling the on method, and we are handling the double click event. And inside this function, we have a code, and this code will get executed only when this button gets double clicked. So if we save this file, go back to Chrome, reload the page, And if we click once, we don't get anything. But if we double click, we get an alert box and the output button double clicked. So to handle double click events, we use the DBL click. And to handle single click, we simply use click. Our next topic is form submission. And we are going to handle the submit event using the jQuery submit method. So submit method to handle submit event. So let's say in our HTML file, let's say we have a form and it has an ID sample-form1. And inside this form, let's say we have an input field of type text and it has an ID, let's say sample-input1. And let's say we have a submit button. So another input field and the type is submit and the value is submit. So if we save this file, go back to Chrome and reload, we get a form. So we have our input field and we have a submit button. And inside this input field, we can write anything, let's say hello world. And we can click the submit button to submit the form. So let us go ahead and write some code to handle the form submit event. So inside our JS file, we are going to target this form having ID sample-form1. So we'll first target that form using ID. So we'll write $ round brackets within double quotes hash, then the ID sample-form1. And then we'll call the submit method. And inside this function, the code that we'll write will get executed when the form gets submitted. So when we are clicking this submit button, a submit event is fired and we are handling that submit event using this submit method. So let us go ahead and capture the value of this input field having ID sample-input1. So inside this function, we'll write, let's say var text, and we'll target that input field using the ID sample-input1. And since we want the value of that input field, so we'll call the value method. And now we can console log the value of that text. So when we are clicking the submit button, a submit event is triggered and this form gets submitted. And we are handling that submit event using this submit method. So when this form gets submitted, we are targeting the value of this input field by targeting that input field, and then we are capturing the value using the value method. And we are saving the value of that input field in a variable text. And then we are using console.log to log that value in the console tab. So if we save this file, go back to Chrome and let us clear the console. And if we reload, and now if we write some text inside this input field, let's say hello world, and now if we submit the form, we get hello world in the console. Now please note, whenever we are clicking this submit button, the form is getting submitted, but the content of this input field gets removed. And the page is also reloading. So for example, if we write, let's say ABC, and if we click this submit button, you will see that this page will reload and will get the output in the console tab. And this text ABC will also get removed. So if we click this, you can see the page reloaded. We got the ABC in the console tab and the text ABC got removed from this input field. we can prevent the page reload by returning false from inside this function. So at the end of this function, if we return false, so this will prevent the page from reloading. So if we save the file, go back to Chrome and reload, and let us clear the console. And this time if we write some text inside this input field, let's say hello. And now if we submit this form, we get the output hello in the console, but this page never reloads. Now we'll discuss how to chain event handling methods in jQuery. So this time we are going to use the on method to handle events by chaining them. So let's say inside our HTML file, let's say we have a horizontal line, then let's say we have a button having ID sample-button3, and this button has a text, click me plus double click me. So if we save this file, go back to Chrome and reload, we get a new button which says click me plus double click me. And for this button, we are going to handle the click event, and we are also going to handle the double click event. So let us go back to our JS file, and we are going to target that button. So we'll write $ round brackets and within double quotes sample-button3. And now we are going to handle the click event using the on method. So we'll call the on method and we'll pass the click value, and we'll have a function, and the code inside this function will get executed when this button gets clicked. So let us console.log button clicked. And to handle double click, we can chain the double click event listener. So we'll again call the on method and we'll pass dbl click, and we'll have another function, and the code inside this function will get executed when the button gets double clicked. So let's say inside this function we have another console.log, and the output is button double clicked. So by writing this code, we are first targeting the button having ID sample-button3. Then we have the on method. So we are listening to the click event using the on method, and the code inside this function gets executed when we have the click event. Then we are chaining another on method, and we are handling the double click event using the dbl click, and the code inside this function gets executed when we have double click. So if we save this file, go back to Chrome, reload our page, and let us clear the console. So if we click this button once, we'll get button clicked in the console. So let us go ahead and click this button, and we get button clicked. But if we double click this button, we'll get button clicked, button double clicked. So if we go ahead and click this twice, we get button clicked and button double clicked. The reason why we get both the output is because when we click once, a click event is triggered, and then we are clicking again. So the double click event is also triggered. So the code inside this function for the click event is getting executed twice, and the code inside this double click event is getting executed once. And so we are getting button clicked 2 times and button double clicked once. Our last topic before we end this video is the off method. And we use the off method to remove or unbind an event from an element. So our topic is off method. So since we are handling the click event and double click event for this button, so when we are double clicking this button, we are getting button clicked twice and button double clicked once. So let us go ahead and switch off the click event or remove or unbind the click event when the button gets clicked once. So in this function, we are handling the single click event. So inside this, we are going to unbind that click event from this button. So inside this function, we are going to target the button using ID sample-button3, and then we will remove or turn off the click event. So by writing this code, we are targeting the button using the ID, and then we are handling the click event, and when the button gets clicked once, a click event is fired, and we handle that click event using this click handler. So in the console, we get the output button clicked, and then this line gets executed, which unbinds or removes the click event from the button. So if we click the button again, after the click event is removed from that button, then there will be no button clicked output in the console. But if we double click, then this function will get executed since we are handling the double click event. So we'll get button double clicked in the console. So if we save this file, go back to Chrome and reload the page. And now if we click this button, we get button clicked. And since we click this button once, the click event handler is now removed. So if we click this button again, we don't get any output. But if we double click, we get the button double clicked. Alright guys, this brings us to the end of this tutorial. I'll post the tutorial notes on my website duyclassroom.com, and all the code that we are writing in this tutorial series, I'll put them in my GitHub repository. You will find all the important links in the YouTube video description, so please feel free to check that out. And guys, if you find my videos interesting, then please like my videos, and guys, please don't forget to subscribe my channel if you haven't already by clicking that subscribe button and click that bell icon so that you will be notified whenever I upload a new video. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in my next video, and like always, stay happy and keep smiling. Bye.